Hey everybody, it's Sarah from I Talk to Notebooks, and I am here to do a topic in journaling that I call snooping, and that other people call snooping as well, because that's what it is. It's something that isn't as much of a problem as people seem to think it is, but if it is a problem, it can be a severe problem. And it's something that holds a lot of people back from writing because they're afraid someone else is going to read it. So here are some techniques to ease your fears about snooping and some practical techniques to prevent it, just in case you're really worried about it. So prevention, first of all, this is an analog channel, but one pretty clear way to prevent snooping is by using an online journal with a password. And what that does is, first of all, it necessitates that instead of just looking through a notebook, this person is looking through your computer, which is a much more serious violation of trust and less likely to happen. And second of all, they have to know your password or be a hacker or something. So that's just less likely to happen. And they have to know what website you're using or what software. It's not going to happen. So that's good. But I'm not going to leave that one up because this is mostly for notebooks. But if you're really concerned, you can use that. So my first thing would be to use a nondescript notebook. I've talked about this before. Just get a dollar store notebook, 50-cent composition book, and make it look like it's something used for school or for grocery lists. If you get something really ornate, it's going to look more interesting, more private, and people are going to be more tempted to look inside. Another thing is you can write a note inside. Now, don't write a note on the outside. I wrote a note that said "bad idea" in capital letters on the front of one of my journals that I took to camp, and my friend was really interested in it. It actually drew attention to the notebook. So your first line of defense is just having some boring notebook that nobody's going to look inside. Now, if they do look inside it, then you have the note that is longer because there's more space on the inside, and it can say something like, "You are about to violate the sacred trust of someone you love." Now that line is not from me, it's actually from a really helpful article that I'm going to link in the description that I got some of these ideas from, but that is a good note to put in there. I always put my name and address in there just in case I get it lost and I want someone to send it back to me, because to me, more important than even being read is that I get to keep them because I like to have them for my records. You could also I sometimes put notes that say things like, "I don't really care if you read it," leave a note in the back, and then that makes it look really, really boring, like, "I don't care if you read it," and then people will not be as motivated to, because if you have a bunch of signs that say do not read, then it's going to look more suspect. Other things you can do are hide it somewhere safe. If it looks boring, you can put it on your bookshelf, looks like any other book or school notebook. You can put it under your bed, just anywhere you know that people will not be looking. Now, if you put it somewhere that's obscured, but still someone realistically could find it, that's actually worse because it's going to look more suspicious. So I would not recommend putting it just, in a drawer or under your bed. I'd put it like on a bookshelf, or I'd put it like in a panel under your floor or something. Like if you're going to hide it, really hide it, or else don't hide it. And on that note, I would say that you could keep a decoy journal. I got this idea from WikiHow, which you can find yourself. I don't need to link that. And usually their ideas are kind of weird, but this one actually makes a lot of sense. You can keep a fancier notebook in just an obscure enough place that it'll look suspicious, and keep a record every day, just something really boring, and pretty soon whoever's reading it will stop reading it because it's so dull. And meanwhile, you've got your real journal hidden somewhere much more safe, or out in plain sight where no one will notice it. So that's good. Set a trap. This is to find out if someone is reading your journal. You can put a piece of hair or a tape on it to see if it's been opened, and then you'll know whether you need to take these other methods. It's a little bit paranoid, but depending on your situation, you might need it. And finally, my last recommendation for prevention would be don't write in public. So if you're sitting in class and you've got a big, composition book out and you're writing your most personal thoughts, if there's someone nosy sitting next to you, they'll be reading it. This has happened to me before. On the flip side of this, if you're sitting in class, it might just look like you're taking notes. It really depends on who you're with, and you have to follow your intuition, because writing in public can be the easiest disguise, or it can also be the easiest way to have someone read thoughts that were meant only for you. So that is my recommendations for prevention. Now, for damage control, in case someone does read it, here's what you need to do. First of all, you need to remember that you are not responsible for what they found. Now, obviously, there are some situations where if you're writing something really disturbing, maybe it's better that they find it and stop you and confront you. But if it's just a regular diary, then it's not your fault if they found something they didn't like. A lot of people use journals, like in the article says, to make decisions, to talk about how they really feel about things, and to really get some things out in the open. Now, people we all know have thoughts in their heads that are unsavory. So I don't see why someone should be judged more for writing it down than they should be for just having it in their head. In fact, a lot of times writing down those thoughts can be a helpful way to sort of get out of that negative headspace or out of those doubts that you might be having and help yourself work through them and come to a better spot. So in a lot of ways, writing it down is better than keeping it in your head. And you could even mention that when you're talking to the person afterwards, because you are definitely going to need to have a debriefing in which you find out what they found, you find out, if they're upset about it, and you sort of talk through it, say, look, you violated my trust, and whatever you found in there, let's talk about it, because we're going to have to talk about it, but I don't need to defend myself because you're the person who violated my trust. And yes, like I said before, you can explain why you keep it if necessary. Like maybe you had a paragraph in there that talks about you thinking about moving away because you don't like your current living situation, and your roommates might be offended if they read it. And you can say, oh, I just wrote that because I just wanted to explore all the possibilities, or I wanted to sort of see how it felt to write about that, and just make it seem like it was less serious. Even if it was more serious, you don't really owe them an explanation. But a lot of times things can look worse in a journal than they actually are. And it's just a helpful way of you thinking out your own thoughts. And that's about it. You should definitely check out the article below, and that will give you some more insight. You can look on WikiHow. It's a little bit out there, but it might be helpful. So yeah, just take a look at the article. Well written, really lots of good ideas and interesting anecdotes. And thank you for watching. Bye.